So we've got a good group here. We've got our next installment of Toolbox Tuesdays. It's Grant Horvath over at ERP Connect Consulting, over with Carlie Schoenauer, our product lead for our project management extension. What we'll be focusing on today is giving you the full rundown of our alternative to the jobs module in Business Central. So Carlie, if you could hop over to the agenda, let's dive in to the presentation today. So what we're going to be focusing on, for those of you that have seen our Toolbox Tuesdays before, is we are going to go through the current gaps in Business Central out of the box, how the project management solution solves those gaps. Carlie's going to jump into a live demo to show you the setup of project management, project creation, including phases, tasks, and task checklists, project invoicing, as well as dashboarding and reporting. We're going to wrap it up with the next steps, resources available to you, and at any point in time, please feel free to hop into the chat box if you have any questions. So let's start with the gaps. Number one, like we said, this is an alternative to the jobs module in Business Central. And I'm sure a lot of you on the call that are on the partner side, you may have seen this before. Those of you on the client side may be dealing with this as well. Jobs can tend to be overcomplicated, especially if you don't need complex work in progress reporting. Admins create all the timesheets for users on a weekly basis. It can be time consuming, and it can actually create bottlenecks, especially if you just have one person doing it. And there's no really easy way to follow up with vendors on purchase orders when you're waiting on them for a job. So with those gaps in mind, let's hop into the solutions here that our project management extension can solve. So number one, with project management, you can easily manage project phases and tasks with timeframes, estimates, and actuals. Carlie's going to be jumping in this a little bit more on our demo. You can track your project timeline, billing, and timesheets and billing modules. And of course, too, users can actually create their own timesheets and record time directly from a project task. You can enable project calendars, Gantt charts, and additional reporting. And it's all pretty much pre-configured with our project management solution. And you have a project card that includes visibility directly on the card for those phases and tasks. So it's creating a lot more ease. You don't have to go to a bunch of different places. You can all find this in one specific project card. So with those solutions being presented, everyone here that's been on a Toolbox Tuesday before knows the deal. We like to hop as fast as we can into this live demo. So Carlie, I'm going to pass it off to you for a demo of our project management extension. Once again, everyone, throw emojis in there. If you are excited about something, reach out to us in the chat box if you have any questions. We want to make this for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Grant. Okay, we're going to get started here with the project management demo. Thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm going to start here just very briefly on our project management setup page here. So one thing I want to point out is this project dimension. You see I have it set up to global dimension 3. This is really the foundation of how the extension works. And so I created on my general ledger setup page, I added project dimension as global dimension 3. So really all I did there is I went to dimensions, created my project dimension right here. You could call it something else if needed, but I just created projects. I then tied that to global dimension 3 on general ledger setup or shortcut dimension 3 and tied it here. Again, that's kind of the foundation. Whenever you create a new project inside of Business Central using our tool, it's automatically going to add that project code into global dimension 3, that set of values there. Okay, that's how we tag the project related to sales documents, purchase documents, everything in the system to get that reporting accurate here. Okay, really just wanted to point that out on the setup page. Everything else is pretty straightforward here and kind of just more of the basic setup stuff. So we're going to get right into creating a project together. Here, I'm going to go to projects. This is my outstanding list of projects. I only have one created right here. I'm going to open this up to point out a few things here, start to bottom. Start with project number, project name, my project category. You can see here, we have a preset list here. I have this one set up as a customer project. I'm using a BC implementation. It's kind of my outline for creating this project, maybe something we could all relate to here. So you can see down here, my phases are discovery, documentation, build, test, deploy, kind of like a BC implementation. Project manager, this is a drop-down list to our user list right here to tie who's that project manager. Coordinator, project status here again, I'm in progress right now. You have to be in progress before you can start to bill hours, book hours against anything against this project, okay? If not, it'll yell at you saying, hey, put this project in progress. Okay, I tied this project to a customer over here. So there's my customer information. And then over here, I have my scheduling piece. So you'll see I have a project start and end date right here. So this could be as long as short as you need, a week, 6 months, a year. So I have that start and end date. When you create your phase start and end date, which we'll get there, it does require it has to be within that project start and end date. Okay. My minimum estimated hours, maximum estimated hours. Again, this is going off of what I'm estimating on my phase, which we'll get there in a second. Actual hours booked against this project, revenue cost, and then some Gantt chart information here. So how our projects are set up are phases, tasks, and then we take it one step deeper with a checklist, okay? So kind of similar into jobs with out-of-box jobs, how you have your tasks and then job planning lines. Kind of similar here. However, we're giving you both on one screen, which is nice. So with out-of-box jobs, you have the task and then you have to go to a different screen to actually see that job planning line. Here, we're giving you, it's kind of same concept, but we're showing you both on the same screen, which is nice. And so I created my phases right here. And as you could see, if I click on phase number 2, it's showing me the tasks associated with phase number 2, which there are none yet. But if I click phase number 1, it's showing me all the tasks related to phase number 1. Okay, so that is kind of the hierarchy. It goes phase and then a task. Looking at my phase information here, just phase name, description, my phase start and end date, which again, this will default or can default based on your project start and end date. So when I created this phase, it defaulted to this and then I can update it. Okay, as long as my phase start and end date are within my project start and end date, I'm good to go. I have my phase minimum estimated and maximum estimated hours here. So this is just you punching in those numbers right there. And then you'll see that tallying up over here. So my minimum is 165, which again is tallying this up, and maximum 225 here. Okay, actual hours here, this is a drill down. So this is telling me that my team members have booked 31 hours against this project. This doesn't necessarily mean that we've billed 31 hours back to the customer, but employees through timesheets have booked 31 hours. Or we'll get here, a contractor could have recorded 10 hours. You recorded that through a purchase invoice. Those 10 hours would be summed up in this 31 as well. So if I click on that, I can see here, this is all time that it has been booked by myself as an employee. And then there's also a contractor time recorded through a purchase invoice here as well. This is giving us some good information. It's showing that all of this time was billable and my billing status billed. That means I have billed it back to the customer through a sales invoice. Okay, so there's no time remaining on this project that's yet to be billed, but we'll do that together. Okay. It'll actually show me the sales invoice that I used to bill that time and the posted sales invoice. I can click on that and open up that link as well as my subcontracted vendor number and the purchase invoice I used to create that contractor invoice. Okay. Alrighty, so there's our phases. You can see here, you can tie a phase to your global dimensions as well. Going down here at task, it looks pretty similar to the phase concept. Again, task is within a phase. So these are all tasks associated with phase number 1 right here. kind of some basic information. You can add task notes. This is just kind of you keying that in, as well as a task category. You can create your own predefined list here, if applicable, and then assign that to your task. Okay, we have a priority here again, task start and end date. So the task start and end date needs to be within that phase date, right? So all these tasks are to this phase number 1, which means they all have to be within this date range right there. Okay, I have a task percent completed or complete here. So you can see that as a percentage. My task status here is a drop down, not started, in progress, completed, complete, confirmed. And then this piece here is pretty cool. I have a task assigned to. So this is going to drop down to your team members associated with the project. So now's a good time to go over team members. So for each project you have, if I open up team members, these are the team members associated with this project. Okay, so depending on how you're set up or how you want to be set up, you can create a project, and every new project you create, you have to assign the team members. So if every project has different team members, that would be a good way to do it. Or if there's kind of a predefined list of team members that are usually on every project, we can actually have that list of team members default in. You know, if Carlie, Grant, and Ben are usually always working on these types of projects, you create the project and those team members will just default in for you. You could always delete or add from there. Okay, so for this project, I have myself as the team member and then the contractor set up here as well. Okay, alrighty. So when I come down here to a task, this is where I would assign this task to the individual person. So what you'll see here is if I select this here, and I'm going to say, okay, this is actually should be assigned to Carlie. I'm going to update that. It's saying, do you want to send an email to Carlie letting her know, hey, you just have been assigned a task? I'm going to say yes. Okay, that'll fire out an email now to mine, and I'll see that, hey, you've been assigned a task, and then in the email will be a link to that task itself as well. Okay, you can assign multiple people to a task too. So if Carlie and the contractor were both assigned to this task, you would do that. I'm going to say, no, I don't need the email, and you'll see both are assigned now. Okay. Alrighty. One step further to a task now, I'm going to have a checklist. So if I click into this task, from here, I could record my own time against the task. You'll see enter project hours. If I'm on the project card and want to record hours, I could do it this way. Down here, you'll see a checklist. Okay, so this is just one step deeper than the task, or breaking it down one step further. You don't have to use a checklist. That's up to you. But if the task was complicated, you wanted to break it down even further, I could add in those checklists here. You can see mine's pretty basic, ask for availability, schedule session, but kind of get the picture there. We can also assign documents to a specific task as well. So this task includes these documents, I'll assign them here. Okay. If I go back now to my project card, you'll see I have a summary log. So this is kind of nice for like the internal team. If you're working on the project, you know, and want to write a note, just finished discovery sessions, I could log that here. Now anyone that goes to that project card would see, okay, there's kind of the latest status here, and I could respond back. So kind of keeping an internal Teams chat, if you will, on the project card.
Hey, Carlie.
Yep.
We did have a question come in on one of the last screens that you were showing. Are the project team members related to the BC resources?
Yep. Okay. Yep. That's a great question. So I'm going to open up that team members list, and let's talk about that now. So you'll see here, I have myself set up as a team member, and I'm linked to an employee and a resource, okay? And then if you look at the contractor, they're only linked to a resource. So if you are recording time inside of Business Central using our tool, which we're gonna get there in a second, you have to be an employee and a resource here. So you have to be an employee to record time through our timesheets. And then when you want to bill back the customer for your time, that's added as a resource on a sales invoice, right? So that's why Carlie is set up as an employee and a resource. If you're a contractor, meaning and you aren't a contractor that has access to Business Central and you don't record your time in Business Central, but the contractor rather hands you an invoice saying, hey, here's the time I've worked, you guys take care of entering it in Business Central, you would enter that as a purchase invoice. And at that point, the contractor just needs to be set up as a resource. Okay. But that is a great question. Alrighty. And thanks, Grant, for the heads up on the chat here. We can stop along the way. Okay, perfect. Chugging along here, project documents. So I already showed that you can add a document to the task level. You can, of course, add a document to the project level here. So I added an attachment. I think I added my dogs here just for a little pick-me-up of there. So you're going to add any attachment here. You can add an email, upload that, attach it to the project itself or the task. Okay. If I'm coming down here, this is an important section to talk about around billing, what the sales invoice looks like when we bill the customer and also the rates that are used. Okay, so if we look right here, we have something called time billing option. So this is key in how we want the sales invoice to be presented to the customer when we're billing time. Okay, so you can see we have a lot of options here, a lot of good stuff. The one I'm using is details grouped by person by task. So when we create an invoice together, which we're going to get there, you'll see that on the actual face of the invoice, the details of who billed the time, what was the task, and the description of the task are actually on the face of the invoice. So we're getting a lot of details there on the invoice. Alternative, we could do a summary only, meaning if Carlie and Grant both worked on this project, billed time against the project, instead of showing Carlie and Grant on the invoice and all their time, it would kind of lump us together saying Carlie and Grant worked 10 hours and it would show as one line on the invoice. Okay. And then you can kind of look through these and see all the different options. Again, I'm using grouped by person by task, and that's modifying what the actual sales invoice looks like. Okay. Billing rate. Okay. So this is what's the rate of all this time that we're billing to the customer. So does the project have a standard rate? Meaning if Carlie books time, if Grant bills time, anytime we bill back to the customer is always $200 an hour. It's a standard project rate. Or do we want to use a standard project rate, but if the resource has their own rate, we want that to override. Okay, so meaning here's my project rate, it's $200 an hour. But if I go to my team members, let's say this contractor is $210. Okay, at that point, if this resource rate is filled out, it'll override my project rate. Okay, so you can kind of use both. Again, it has to be filled out in order to use that. The last option here is my resource only. So this is saying it's ignoring this billing rate right here completely. It would only look at my resource billing rate up here. Okay, so everyone kind of has their own rate is why you would use those. We recently added as well the concept of overtime rate and double time. So overtime, you're going to put in the rate here, and the double time would obviously just take double the actual billing rate there. And then in addition to that, we added a task bill rate. So if this is populated, it would override what's set up down here. So an individual task could have its own rate, and then as well as the overtime rate right here. Okay, so cool stuff there. Alrighty, so for us right now, I have my time billing option set as details grouped by person by task and a project only rate, meaning this $200 is what we're going to be looking at for time. Okay. Let's go and book some time against this project and see how that flows through. Okay, so I'm going to come in here to timesheets, and I'm going to create a new timesheet. I'm going to create it for myself. So kind of a difference from out-of-box jobs and using the timesheets that come with that is you kind of have a timesheet admin that goes in there and creates all the timesheets for the week. That's kind of someone's role. Everyone can create their own timesheet, which is nice. Okay. So I created my timesheet. It has my starting date here. It's defaulted. I created a timesheet for the week previous to this. So it knows that, okay, we're creating the next week now. I could ultimately change that though. Okay. Come down here, I'm going to add my project number, my phase here. Okay, so that's all going to be a drop down and my task. The description is going to default to my task. That's an option on the setup table, but I can add in here any more details that I need, okay? I have my date that I booked this time or worked the time, so I'm going to add that in here. And then my total time, of course. Is this billable or not? So if this was more for an internal project or just time that's not billable back to the customer, I can uncheck that there as well as that regular versus overtime, double time flag there for your time. Okay. So this is one way to look at billing time or booking time. If you come up here, you'll see another option called view lines. Okay, so if view summary. Okay, so this is just a different way that I can book it. If I worked on this project, phase, and task multiple days this week, rather than if you look at this line, I'd have to add a line for each one of those. On the summary version, I just add this one time and then can book across. Okay, so this is just a preference into what someone likes and how they want to record their time. You can use both too. If you like doing it this way and then the other way, you can switch back and forth. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Okay. Delete that line here. Alrighty, so we do have approvals all set up here in the system as well. On the employee card, we added a field for that approver. Who is your approver? So for my employee, I would set up, my approver is Alex, and the approval will go through for Alex. Okay, for the purpose of this demo, I turned them off so we could submit it through and record time and then generate the invoice. Okay, so I'm going to hit submit timesheet. Are you sure you want to submit it? I'm going to say yes. You can see it's completed here. If it has not been billed and it's completed, and I see, this was supposed to be 8 hours, or maybe I tagged it to the wrong task, phase, etc., I can reopen this timesheet, change it, and then resubmit it as well, okay? So we see my time is completed now. I'm going to hit close. And now let's look at how I can bill that time to my customer, okay? I can do that two ways. One, I can do it through a page called Time Journal Administration. So this is going to be showing you all time across all projects, okay? So if you look at this field over here, you'll see billing status. I can see that I have not billed right here this time. That was the time we just booked just now, okay? So I can come up here and say create invoices, and it's going to fire off any project that has time that has not been billed, okay? So this is a good way if you have a lot of projects you're managing or the project manager for, you don't want to have to go to each project card to generate the invoice. You want to kind of do it all at once. You can do it through this way, okay? You'll see here it shows you, the sales invoice number, posted sales invoice number, all those links once you bill that time. The alternative, which I just mentioned, is you can bill time through the project card back to the customer, okay? So if I'm the project manager for this project and I like to kind of come in here, look at the details, make sure everything looks good and say, okay, let's create that invoice for that all that time. I've approved the time, looks good to go. Let's shoot off that invoice. I'm going to come to the project card, create the invoice this way, okay? One thing I want to show just before I do that here, if you come down here to time journals, this is showing you all time that's been booked again against this project. So this would be another way of coming in here and saying, okay, here's all my project hours. Let's look at it. This all looks good. We've billed it back. Okay, I see we haven't billed this. Let's do that now. Okay, so that's another way to look at things. I'm going to create the invoice from here. Are you sure you want to create a sales invoice for all time entries not billed for the project? Yes, let's do that. Okay, created my sales invoice for me here. And as you can see down here, it added my resource that was linked, set up through my team members. It says project billing for Carlie with the task there. And this is that description I added on my time journals, okay? My sales invoice looks like this because that's the time billing that I set up on my project card. If you recall, my time billing option was grouped by resource by task. So that's why it's showing me all of these details right here, okay? Just gonna put non-taxable here, and then let's post this. So it's 7 hours there. Let's post. Yes. No, I don't need to look at the posted invoice, but if I come back here, you can see my actual hours jumped from 31 to 38. If I open that up there, you can see now that also shows it's billed. Okay. One other way that you can record project time, so you saw me do it through a timesheet. Another way is to do it actually through the task, which could be nice if you're looking on the project, kind of checking out what tasks you've been assigned and say, okay, yep, I worked on that. Let me open this task up. I can actually enter project hours this way as well on the fly, saying, okay, yep, I worked on this task. Here's my description, total time, billable, close. That's going to be added to an existing timesheet if you have one open. Otherwise, create a new timesheet for you. Okay. Alrighty, so we kind of went over the project review, creating a project, entering time through a timesheet or a task, and then the two options of creating invoices through that time journal administration page, where the purpose is you could create invoices across many projects at the same time. Otherwise, you can create an invoice from an individual project card as well. Okay. Alrighty, we're gonna now create a purchase invoice to record time for a contractor. Okay, so we have recording contractor time set up two ways. So one way is kind of what I mentioned previously. The contractor doesn't have access to Business Central or anything. Grant, do we have a question in the chat?
We do. So the question is, does the enhancement only bill time and materials lines, or does it handle milestone or lump sum billing?
Yep. So what you saw me do is bill back the time and materials that was I booked through the timesheet. One thing that we added in ours is, so we're just doing this through a sales invoice. If you go back to jobs, when you create an invoice from a job, you can't modify that sales invoice at all. You basically have to bill or post that sales invoice exactly how it was generated from the job, which is a limitation. If if the rate change, you want to do that on the fly, or need to change, make it the lump sum billing, etc. Our tool lets you completely modify that sales invoice. So one, you saw me create the invoice from the project and then post that sales invoice. I could have modified that sales invoice on the fly, saying, oh, we're actually only billing 3 of those hours instead of the 7. Or I can actually just go up here, go to a sales invoice here, create a sales invoice for the customer, add in Carlie or the contractor as the resource, and just enter an amount. You do not have to create the sales invoice from the project card. Okay, so that would come in here. I could just enter a lump sum amount that we're billing the customer, tie it to the project card itself. So if I open this one up, I'll show you here exactly what I mean by that. I could create a sales invoice, come down here, tie it to my project number right here, and it's showing no projects because that's a different customer than I have the project set up for there. If I enter this, post my sales invoice, this sales invoice is going to be tied back to my project. Okay, so kind of what I'm trying to show here is you do not have to create a sales invoice from a project itself. You can go off and create your own sales invoice and it'll tie it back to the project. Okay. Awesome. Great question. Alrighty, so going with contractor invoices here, again, 2 ways we can create a contractor invoice is, let's say the contractor doesn't have access to Business Central, right? In that case, we create a purchase invoice, add in that resource that's set up, or add in the contractor that's set up as a resource on the purchase invoice line tied to the project. That contractor invoice gets tied back to my project card. We had another scenario with the client where the contractor actually had access to Business Central, so they wanted that contractor to be able to enter their own time instead of Business Central for them or for themselves. So the contractor would go in, enter time through the timesheets itself, And our tool will then recognize that as a contractor and actually generate the purchase invoice side for us and the sales invoice side. Okay, so the purchase invoice side so that we can pay that contractor back, and then also the sales side so we can bill the customer for that contractor's time. Okay, so 2 scenarios you can do there to handle however contractor is recording their time. In this example here, I'm going to assume that the contractor just kind of hands us a sheet that has all their time. We're going to go record that as a purchase invoice through the system. Okay, I have this purchase invoice created right here for us. Come down here, you can see key thing here is I have it tied. We added this section project. You have to have it tied to the project, okay? So I added my project, phase, and task right here. If I come up here, you'll see project on the line level then as well. I'm adding my contractor time here. I have the resource set up here for my contractor. And then we added this section time details, okay? So I would add in my resource and I'm gonna say time details. And this is, I can break down if the contractor worked on multiple phases, multiple tasks, I can kind of break all of that down right here. I can put in the amount of hours he worked on, he or she, enter that, billable, yes or no, hit close, and it's going to update my quantity for me, okay? This cost right here is pulling right from the resource card that's set up. So that unit cost that's set up on the resource card, if needed, you could always override this. Here it's completely editable, just like a normal purchase invoice, but it is pulling from the resource card. Okay. I'm going to put non-taxable there, and then let's post this contractor's invoice. Post the invoice, yes. No. That's from a different app. Let's go back, and now on that project card, I come, let's look here, where are my actual hours? And open that back up. Okay, if I open this 40 up right here, you can see it jumped from 38 to 46. It brought in that contractor's time right here, and you can see it's not been billed. Okay, so now I can bill that the next time I do an invoice for this project, that contractor's time, since it was billable, will add to the sales invoice. Okay, Grant, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, Carlie.
Yeah.
We got a few questions that hopped into our Q&A box. So the first one is, can you lock down prior periods for time entry?
Okay, as of right now, no. So they would be able to create time entries for periods in the past, but that's a good feature we could look at of adding.
Awesome. And question number 2 for you is, can employees flag a time entry to be billed at $0 so it shows up on the invoice, but at $0?
Not the employee doing that now on the timesheet when they enter their time. The only flag there is billable, yes or no. The rate is going to be looking at whatever's set up on the project. If it's looking at the project rate or the resource rate, you could always change it to 0 when you actually create the sales invoice. But at this point, you would change it on the sales invoice. There's nowhere to flag now the $0 rate, but still wanting to show it on the sales invoice.
Thanks, Carlie. And just a quick pause too for everyone that's on the meeting. If you have found something beneficial or you learned something new, click that react button and let's see some thumbs up and some hearts here. Just want to make sure that everyone's getting the most out of this they possibly can before Carlie dives back in. A lot of thumbs up. All right. We like the emojis. Ben gave us one too. Love to see that coming from him. All right, Carlie, back to you.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty, so there's contractor invoices. Again, a couple different ways you can do it. Do we have another question? So make sure we don't move on, or no?
We had a hand up, but I think it was a thumbs up, so I think we're good. Okay,
awesome. Alrighty, so again, a couple different ways you can handle contractor invoices that should accomplish really whatever you need there. I touched a little bit before about how The foundation of this tool is really it's set up, the projects are set up as a dimension, which makes it so easy that you can tag this project really on any document throughout the system, and that document's going to be flagged and tagged back to your project, okay? That's how I showed you can just go and create your own sales invoice, tie it to the project, it gets tied back, okay? Let's show here, I'm gonna go and look at a sales order that I have open. So again, sales order for a BC implementation, it's probably, we wouldn't have, but right, this is just one type of project. Let's assume this project, you know, has some inventory associated with it as well on the sales orders. So I'm gonna come over here and I have a sales order created. Okay, I just went and created a sales order as normal. Okay, I did not create the sales order from the project card, right? What I did is I created the sales order and I came down here and I tied it to my project. Okay, so that's key in getting all these documents back to your project right here. You'll add the project here and it gets updated on your lines as well. Okay, one thing to show and that we've kind of gotten request on and adding this functionality in is change orders. Okay, so with out of box BC, there's really no change order functionality. I have my sales order. The original request was for a quantity of 10. Okay, I then work with the customer and now they want to add a new item and then maybe up the other item to a quantity of 12, right? So to track those changes and actually print a change order, there's nothing really in BC that's doing that. We added that functionality in. Okay, so I initially created this sales order. You can see I have two versions right here. Okay, so the change order relies on archiving these sales orders. So if I open this up, you'll see I created an original sales order here, and then I created another one. What I did is I just created it for this item originally for 4. I then archived it and then upped it to a quantity of 5. Okay, so you'll see this print change order, which is included in our extension now. And if I print this change order, it's just going to compare those two archived versions and see what's the difference. So if you added inventory, if you lowered inventory quantity, if you changed location, it's going to track any of those changes and print it on a change order. You can do multiple versions too. So I only have 2 versions here in this example. Let's say I have 4, it'll always compare the recent 2 versions of your sales order. So in that case, it would compare number 3 and 4, okay? So if I come up here and say print change order, I'm going to print. Okay, you can see we have our change order here and the change type says added and the change was a quantity of 1 with the unit price here, okay? So again, in my scenario, I created the sales order initially. I then changed the quantity from 4 to 5. So it tracked that I added a quantity of 1 here, okay? And then you could shoot this out through email to your customer, okay? But key thing I want to show here again too is I just created the sales order, tagged it to that project dimension. Now if I come back to my project card here, I can go to sales docs. This is showing me any open sales document, okay? Sales quote, sales order, sales return, credit memo, sales invoice here, okay? So you'll see that that sales order we just looked at, it's an open sales order tied to this project. I then could view the document and open it from here. Also, I can see an item planner. So if I have any sales documents or sales orders with inventory on them outstanding for this project, I can come in here and say, okay, where's kind of the feel for my inventory right now related to this project? Where is it at in the cycle? I can come here to item planner. It's showing me I have a sales order open with this item number. I have a quantity of 5 over here. My quantity on hand is 10, but it could be a part of other orders, right? So really the quantity available is -3, meaning that I need to purchase some, right? So it's showing me alert, not enough available. This is to prompt you to say, okay, do I need to go create a purchase order for this inventory? Do I need to create a special order? Do I need to follow up with a vendor saying, hey, where's my inventory at? So this is where you can do that. If there were a purchase order with this inventory, in our system, I could say view supply document. It's going to take you to that purchase order. I can then also, if there is a purchase order, follow up with the vendor directly from here saying, hey, where's my inventory? When can I expect it? My customer is waiting. Okay. and that's going to look at the vendor's email set up on the vendor card. Okay. Where it gets the supply document is one, if this sales order was a special order and you created the purchase order from the sales order, it would automatically go to that special order. Or if it was not a special order, it would just look at the oldest purchase order with this inventory on the order, and then it would use that as the supply document. Okay. Alrighty. See, do we have a question?
Yes. So Carlie, question that came in, is there any integration with signature services like DocuSign or Adobe?
There is not any DocuSign or Adobe embedded in this tool right now, no.
All right, we have another one that's more of a comment, but this session will be recorded, and that's awesome. You want to show it to some people and have about 3 customers complaining about steps for base BC that you would like to show this to. So really appreciate that on that end, Rob, and we'll make sure this recording is set up. And for everyone else too, I'm going to post our YouTube channel. If you just subscribe to that, our recordings all show up on YouTube as well. All right, back to you, Carlie.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. So really wrapping up here okay, this is all great, but how can I get this data out and how can I get it in reports? Okay, so on our project card, you'll see a dashboard itself. So this is kind of a nice one-stop shop to see, okay, where's my project health at? Here's my start and end date, budget to date. So let's get this load for a second. Okay, budget to date, actuals, % complete. My team members assigned to the project, team member hours per month, a Gantt chart right here, which is pretty nice. And we have settings able, and it kind of depends on your browser. You can see here to view this a little bit nicer there. Any tasks associated with the project that are outstanding. Again, just more KPIs here and graphs for you, and a project calendar. Okay, I'm going to go back here. As I mentioned before, sales docs are any open sales document tied to the project. Okay, so in our example, I had a sales order open tied to this project. Purchase orders, same thing, or purchase docs, same thing. Any open purchase document tied back to the project. So if you have a purchase invoice that you created for a contractor that you are still waiting on their time, haven't quite got it yet, that would show outstanding here in your purchase invoice section for you to track. And then you can, of course, follow through and actually open up that document from here as well. Okay, so these are open documents right here, and then the accounting is any posted sales or purchase document tied to the project. Okay, so just showing you that posted version, so I can see posted sales invoices. These are a bunch of sales invoices I created from recording time and billing time back to my customer. Credit memos, purchase invoices, purchase credit memos. Okay. Okay, so my open documents there, my posted documents, we already talked about the item planner, which is how I can see any inventory tied to this project. Where is it at? We created an invoice directly from this project. My % complete down here. So if you look down here, I have a phase % complete. It's basically going to take that and generate where's my overall project standpoint out for you. So this is really like a button that'll trigger that calculation. Okay. Accounting is, again, any posted document, and then financials right here. Let's look at, so in your PMS setup, when you're going through the setup, you're able to tie projects to 2 financial reports. Okay, these are financial reports previously called account schedules that you have set up in the system. You can see I tied it to an income statement and then just revenues right here. And these will automatically filter using our project dimension. That is why that is so key to make sure you always use that project dimension there. It'll filter this income statement to project 1 for you to see basically a project income statement at this point. Okay. All right, so there's financials, grid view, a calendar here. Again, Gantt chart we talked about, that was in my dashboard, a project tree as well. So these are just giving you a bunch of different information, right? Some people will love the Gantt chart, some will love the project tree, a lot of good stuff in here. Budget. Okay, so as you saw in the dashboard, it was showing actuals versus budget here. I can create my budget for revenue, cost, and hours. Okay, so you put your type in there, the date. So I'm budgeting as of the end of February, and then the amount right here, and it'll track against actuals. Okay.
Hey, Carlie.
Yep. Questions?
We got a lot of questions that came in. This is awesome. We got a great group today. So you ready for it?
I'm ready. Let's shoot them off.
All right, let's do it. So what BC license is required for time entry? Can you enter time with a Teams license?
Yes. Yep. Great question. And yes, a team member's license can be used to enter time through our timesheets. I work with another client that is using that now. Okay.
Beautiful. All right, so this is a multi-pronged question. I'll split it into parts. Part one, is there a quick way to upload open projects?
Yes. So let's look here. Believed it was on there. Okay. We do have an import function to open projects and kind of beginning balances there. Otherwise, of course, a config package to upload open projects. Data upload.
Cool. Second question or second prong, is there a quick way to upload posted purchases and sales?
Trying to understand exactly here. Way to upload posted purchase sale in sales. Upon completing step 1 and 2, the dashboard will show what has been posted so far. So really, you're just needing to tie these posted purchase and sales. I'm wondering if you're meaning upload the project dimension to the posted purchase and sales so that they are tied in there. You just need to be able to update the purchase documents, posted documents with that project dimension, and then it should tie into there. Let me know if I'm not understanding that question completely right here, but I believe that's what you mean.
Cool. So last one that we have up here right now is there an option to see multiple projects in one report?
So I guess the beauty here, so we don't have like you come to the project and select multiple projects, but you have to remember everything is built around that these projects are set up as global dimensions, right? So you can go to your general ledger, you can go to sales documents, purchase documents, and filter to, okay, I'm managing these 2 projects. I want to filter to my global dimension project 2 and 5. Okay, so really throughout the entire system, since it's built around a global dimension, you can run any report that's, makes sense, filtered to those projects for you. Okay, so you could go to financial reports, filter to the dimensions there, general ledger, filter to the dimension there, sales documents, posted sales documents. Really any report you're looking for is able to be filtered since it's a global dimension.
All right, that's all we got on the questions box right now, Carlie.
Okay. Keeping me on my toes. I love it. Alrighty, so really here wrapping up with the financial piece and just a couple other aspects that we offer here. So we last talked about budget right here. A few other things I just want to point out. We already talked about time journals. This is just a way to see any time that's been booked against my project and what's been billed. Status log is kind of how you can enter kind of an internal Teams chat on the project card. This copy from project function is nice. So if I'm creating a new project, I would enter, my project name, the customer, but then this project is identical to a project I've already done, let's say, okay? I've done many BC implementations. They're all kind of built the same with phases and tasks, right? So I could come in here and say copy from project, grab that previous project that I know I kind of want to duplicate, and it's going to enter all that data in here for me, that my phases and tasks. I can then, of course, modify anything it's needed, but it kind of gives me a good starting point, okay? Similar, I can copy from a template. So we have a concept called project card templates. I can create a couple templates, okay, or as many as I need. It really looks identical to this. And then when I'm creating a new project, I can say, okay, copy from my template BC implementation, and it's going to copy all that information in for me. Okay. Send project task reminders is going to send out a task reminder to anybody assigned a task that is not completed yet, but my task and start and end date have passed. Okay, so it's going to shoot them an email reminder, send email to project team. So this would say kind of a email blast to all your team members saying, hey, everyone, this is the status point of the project, and it's going to email all your team members. Last thing here I want to show, I know it looks like we have a couple other questions here, but this is really the key piece with getting kind of your data out for the project. We have an export project to Excel function. So I'm going to open this up. It's going to give me a lot of good information here and just really one click of a button. So it's opening Excel for me, and I'll bring it over. Okay, so I just selected that export project to Excel button. I'm going to open this up, and it basically spits out everything I just walked through across that top ribbon section into an Excel sheet. Okay, so I have an overall summary, start and end date, where are my hours, budget to date, etc. A project statement here. Okay, so these are any sales invoices and kind of a statement for the customer then. My team members showing me kind of, okay, here are my team members and what they've billed or booked time against in the month. Any tasks associated with this project here. Any open sales documents, any open purchase documents, posted sales documents, posted purchase documents, tongue twisters here. Budget versus actual, again, okay, you'll see that here. Item planner, any inventory that is tied to this project through a sales order. And then lastly, time journals, which this is really nice here, showing me total hours against the project, what's been billed, etc. Okay, and actually the time of that project as well. So if the customer is, asking, okay, can I get a summary of all time? This would be the perfect way to do that. Okay. Alrighty. Got some more questions here.
Yeah, so first one coming in for you, Carlie. Can we run allocation for indirect cost on the project?
Yep, great question. So let me show this piece quick here. So as we talked about before, to enter time, you have to be set up as an employee. Okay, so if I go to Carlie, I'm set up as an employee down here. And you'll see this employee burden rate. Okay, so this is the internal cost of this employee. Okay, so every hour Carlie books it, the burden rate is $50 an hour. This is not going to go to your GL because kind of the idea there is those costs will actually be hitting your GL through payroll, right? And you could, of course, if the customer could break down payroll by project, that'll be tied in, but most people can't. So this is kind of another way that it's not going to tie back to your GL, but this is going to show you that burden rate tied to the project. Okay, so what that would do is I put in my burden rate here. Again, that internal rate, it's not going to hit my GL. Then I'd come back to my project here. And this cost amount hours is that burden rate. Okay, so this is kind of giving you a picture. What is my internal burden rate for this project? Again, this 1,800 is not tying to your GL or hitting your GL because that would ideally come through payroll, but it's allowing you to keep track.
All right, Carlie, we got one more question coming in, and then we'll wrap it up with the next steps. Any report to track project milestone completed versus balance?
So more so looking at a percent complete, project milestone completed versus overall balance. So what I would say for now is we have this project percent complete that's going to compare kind of your estimated, take the phase percent complete and push that into there. Otherwise, it's going to be looking at your budget to see what's my budget, compare it back to actuals. That's what we have right now for the milestone completed versus actual balance that you're looking for.
Roger that. Carlie, any other things that we're missing before we hop into the next steps here? Or anything else you'd like to add?
The only other thing I'd like to add that I think is pretty cool is we added roles in here too. So as you can see, my home screen is kind of all project related. So if I go into my settings and go to role, you'll see my roles project admin, PMS. Okay, so we added 3 roles, a project admin. So this would be somebody that can kind of come in, approve time, set up projects, kind of the overall, kind of a super for our extension. Okay. Project manager would then be, tied to projects as a project manager, can approve time. And then a project member is really somebody that would need just the team member license that can come in and just record time through timesheets for our projects. Okay, so again, once you install the extension, you'll see these 3 available roles. And I really like using those with the extension as well. Okay, that's all. We actually got through everything. So thanks for sticking around. I can take us back to the presentation then, Grant, if that sounds good.
That sounds perfect, Carlie. And
Okay.
For everyone else on the call, while Carlie's dropping over to the presentation, put a few of our helpful resources in the chat too. All right, so let's dive into the next steps here. Carlie, if you can hop over, I think 2 more slides for me. Next steps, really simple, everyone. Every single one of our 29 extensions has a 30-day free trial. If you're a partner of ours and you don't have an unlimited license for your demo account, please feel free to reach out to me as well. For partners, let's get project management into your demo environment. For users, let's get into one of your sandboxes to check it out. We have an activation video that makes that process really easy as well. And then finally, let's finish on the resources, Carlie. So for the resources, I posted a few of them in the chat, everyone. Like we said, we do have our product page in AppSource where you can download the free trials, but also see a lot of summary screenshots and user setup guides. We have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to that I posted in the chat, as well as a product guide that gives you a fit gap of every single extension that we have in the BC Toolbox. Now with that, we finished up here. We added on an extra 15 minutes of material too, which is absolutely incredible. So hope everyone has an awesome rest of their week. We'll have this recording out at the end of the week as well. We'll send it to everyone. And Carlie, thank you very much for the awesome presentation.
Yep, awesome. Thank you, everyone, and great questions.